Right, we're going to make a card today, and we're using the Wendy Vecchi from Ranger, the Make Art collection. So we're going to be using this to stamp, stencil and die set, so you get it all in the one. This set is called Flowers Say It All, which I think is beautiful. So we're going to be using this set to create our background and our main feature. We're also going to use a few of the Wendy Make Art Blendable die inks. These are beautiful, they're easy to blend. You can use them for large areas, use your mini ink blending tools from Range, or you can use your detail tools with these. We can create watery backgrounds, so it's really works well with water to create those sort of swoosh backgrounds as well. So we're going to have a play with these, and we're going to be watercolouring with them as well. So the first step for this card, what I've done is I've taken some watercolour card, because I want to do is painting. I love to paint onto watercolour cards, so any suitable cardstock you have. And I've used, first of all, I've used the dies in the set. Now these dies fit beautifully over your stamped images. I'm going to cut them first and then stamp, but what you can do is you can stamp and then cut, and these will leave a little bit of a white border, whatever colour border underneath, around the outsides. If you don't want the border, you can always cut that down as well. So first of all, what I've done is I've cut just a handful of the flowers. So I've cut one each of the flowers and one of the stems, you can see from the die set. And next what I'm going to do is we're going to stamp on these to show you the detail. So I've taken the rose and the leaf stem from our stamp set, and I'm going to place them onto my stamping block. And I'm using my perfect stamp block from Wendy. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to place my stamp onto my block, and I'm actually going to stamp this using archival. And I use an archival ink because I want it to be permanent when I put water on top of it, and archival is brilliant for that. Okay, so really you've got to decide what colour you'd like to stamp it in, whether you want it to be quite a contrast, you know, or whether you want it more muted to more a sort of a no line art sort of type of technique. I'm actually going to use, I use black archival for this. Okay, so I'm going to ink up my pad, get my stamp, so I'm going pad to stamp, making sure it's really inked up well. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my die cut and we're going to position it over the top, okay, and try and line up. It's best when you're doing this to stand over the top. I'm actually going to be standing a little bit way back from mine, but I want you to just pop it over the top and then press down onto our die cut. Okay, and there we go, beautiful stamped image. I'll bring it up closer for you. Pop it off on my station. Can you see now you've got this lovely stamp detail there, and you're leaving a little bit of a border around the side as well. Really going to pop it up for your images. And I'm going to do the same with my leaf, and then once again I'm going to put my stamp over my die cut. I'm saying you're best to stand over it while you're doing it, or have your head over it. And so I'm at an angle here, and then give it a good press down, transfer the image. And there you have this beautiful, again, image here that we can now go ahead and colour. Now I'm working on top of my my station by Wendy Vecchi from Ranger, which I absolutely love. Now I'm going to colour these. I'm just going to use a little brush to add the colour. So I'm going to use some of the Make Art the Blendable ink, and I've got leaf green here. So we're going to use some of that, and I've just got a sort of an old stamping block here that I'm using as a paint palette. Okay, so I've got my leaf green. Okay, so these reactive with water, and then for my rose here, I think I'm going to use my carnation red. Okay, so I'm just going to use there. I have a little bit of water in my little mister bottle here. Misty, so it's just water. There you go. And then we're going to start colouring these images in. And I'm going to start with the little bit of carnation red. And what I like to do is I like to give a light coat all over. And I'm going to try and stay and keep that edge white. You don't have to, but you can, because you can always trim it down if you don't like it that white. But what I want to do now, I'm just going to give it a really light coat of colour, just as a base coat. and move that around. Just go for a really sort of sketchy look. So whilst that's drying, I'll come back to that because it's hard to see there. Once it's drying, I'm going to just paint in the leaf as well. So I want to add some different colours to that. So I'm going to start painting my leaves. This is our leaf green. I'm going to pop it over here as well. And then we're going to, because these are translucent inks, we can build up the depth of colour with them. So as you add it, you can actually darken the shade each time you use it. And that's what I love about these then, because it's so controllable. They are a beautiful ink to work with. There we go. And then what I can do is, I'm going to, as I got the green here, I'm going to start going in a little bit darker. There we go, on that bit there. And these bits here. So add in some shading now to our leaf around here as well, and we're going to add a little darkness down our stem. Okay, and again it's all about just building up that shading, but as I said, as they're translucent we can build that shading in. Okay, so you can see there how we built some extra shading in just using the one colour. So if I pick this up for you now, you can see now we've got shading happening on there. Now on the rose, I'm going to come back in now, and on my under petals, places like this, I'm going to add the colour in a little bit darker until you're happy. So here's my flower now coloured. So again, I've just used the carnation red on the flower, just adding lots of water in between, and I've also used just the leaf green on here, so we've only used one colour each ink on there, but you still get a beautiful shading from that. So now what I'm going to work on the background. So again, I'm using my acrylic block to work on. I've got a piece of watercolour card here. Again, this is your Tim Holtz Distress watercolour cardstock. I just want to do a sort of an inky smushy background, so very, very simple to do. So I'm going to use my the Makeup Blendable dye inks for this again. So in the background, I think I might go for a little bit of yellow. So I've got this gorgeous buttercup yellow colour here, the Blendables. I'm just going to, I don't know, put a little bit down onto my acrylic block here. And then also I think I was going to use a little bit of the sky blue, because I want a sort of a greenish background, but I don't want it as maybe as green as putting the leaf green down. So I'm going to put the sky blue, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to mist this with some water, just plain water now. So I'm going to mist this with some water. There we go. Okay. Just give that time to sort of move around. So I'm going to sort of tip it around as well. There we go. And all I'm going to do then is I'm going to pick up the colour onto my cardstock. Okay, so you can see now I'm just going to keep picking up some of that colour. Okay, and as you see, I'm trying to keep one corner up. I don't know what I want yet, but I think I'll keep one corner up and keep some white space on the card. Okay, so you can see now I'm picking up bits of blue on its own as well, so I might just that bit there, smush a little bit more on. Okay, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to dry that to see if I'm happy with it. There you go. So it's just a little bit of colour, and I want to leave some white space here, so that when I start sort of arranging, because it'll be very simple card. I think simple is beautiful. Then I have this lovely background, but what I also want in there is I want a little couple of splashes as well. I'm just going to move my block away. I'm going to use a slightly brush here, yeah, and I'm going to, again using my block as my palette, I'm I'm just going to, I think I'll add the blue. So I'm going to take some of the sky blue. Again, I'm going to add a little bit of water. Yeah, and I'm going to take a small, my brush here. I'm just going to grab some on my brush. And I just want to do some light sort of taps. So I get these little dots going on around my cards. It's all the same colours, but I really do want a little bit to break that white up without putting too much on it. So I'm going across the whole card here. Just a light splatter there. I hope you can see that. You see? So there's a very light splatter now on there. Just take away my tap it there. And then I'm not going to dry that. What I'm going to do is take some paper towel. I'm just going to take off the excess with my towel, direct on top, dry it that way. And that way then I don't get too dark, so I've got a nice light colour in the background there. Because then again, when I start placing my flowers onto this, my flower, there we go, then that's going to give it a nice little bit of colour in that background. Because what it is, we're going to create a back panel for this to sit on. We are going to stamp onto this afterwards. I'm going to let it dry a bit more for now. So the size of card, I'm using a C5 card, A5 card if you want it. It's a card base. So I cut a piece of white cardstock that is just slightly short that to create our back piece. Hard to see now, but we're going to blend some inks onto here. So I'm only going to blend a light in. I don't really need to worry about the centerpiece. I just want to blend this in. So we've got lovely tone on tone cards. Every bit actually works beautifully because we have the same colours in the background, to be honest. Okay, so I'm going to put the sky blue in the background because I love the sky blue. We might blend some more green into it afterwards as well. Okay, so I'm going to use the sky blue. I'll use it direct from my palette. There we go. So again, start off and then I come on, and we're going to continue this all the way around the edge. Remember, we're coming a little bit here. I'm just not going to worry about ink in the centre. So I'm going to carry on blending these inks now all the way around until I get a lovely border that's going to tie in beautifully with our card. So here you go, we've just gone all the way around it now. Okay, haven't worried about this because that's going to be covered. But what I want to do now is I want to bring in back our top, because this is what's going to fit on our top with our flower. So I want to bring that back in. We're going to add some stenciling now because we've got these beautiful stencils in the sets. So this is the one from Say It of All Flowers. So we use these in other projects, but I want to use this lovely stripe down here. So I'm going to pop it back on here. But what I also want to do is I don't want to have to keep holding it, you know, it's going to move across. I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this stencil on here, and I'm going to use the magnets from my station, and we're going to hold this in place, and now it's not going to move whilst I use this. But what I'm going to do is, because it's smaller detail, I'm going to use the detailed blending tool. Okay, I love these little detail ones. They're great for stenciling like this. So I want to colour this in here now, and I think I'm going to bring the blue back in just for the borders. So I'm going to use the sky blue again. I'm going to take my detail blending tool. I'm just going to, I haven't got to hold the stencil, it's just habit of holding the stencil. So I'm just going to, you don't need to hold the stencil because the magnets are doing the work for you. You see, that is not moving because those beautiful magnets on this magnetic station, which I don't know why I didn't have this equipment earlier. Because I love it, because I've got to hold these stencils down. So there we go. So I'm just going to use my detail blend tool. I'm just adding some detail on. Can you see how we're adding the detail on the bottom? I'm just going to go right into there, and right over again. And we get a lovely colour because I'm going over the sort of yellow area. Because the inks are dye based, they will actually interact with each other because they are react to the water. There we go. So we blend them on top, so you get this lovely sort of ombre effect going on across the page because of that. So I've got that one on there. So what I need to do now, I'm going to take my magnets off. There we go. And I'm just going to move that along. There we go. Line it back up again. Okay, so I just want to line that back up there. I'm going to pop my magnets on here, just hold it in place, and do my last stripe here. Get into those little details with that tool. Okay, there we go. So now we've done a little bit of border stenciling. I don't have to hold it down, all the magnets done it for me. But you can see how we're going to be building up this piece, because we've got our rows to go on here. It's going to be, you know, just a really simple card, but this detail, the stencil is really beautiful. So what I might do is I'm going to continue that stencil at the top of my card. Okay, so I'm just going to turn my card around, and then I'll continue with the same colour. I'm just going to continue the stencil along. There you go. If I just move that down to the bottom a little bit. There you go. I'm not going to worry if it's matching up properly. I'm going to pop on my stencil, my magnets there to hold my stencil in place. And again, I'm going in with that sky blue again to finish this part. Again, using my little detail tool for this to get into those little areas. I'm just going to move my stencil along. Just the last part here. Pop it back up, realign it. Pop my magnets on to hold it in place for me. Yeah, pop that down there. Just have it holding it. Well, I don't need to. Take the magnets back off. And again, there we are. We're starting to build our design here now. Again, I do keep placing my design on, so I know what look I want on it. So we've got that lovely bit of detailing going on there. And what I'm going to do, I'm also going to stamp on this. Now I'm going to see one here. I think I'm going to add some dots in the background here. So I've taken a stencil from one of the other sets, and this time I'm going to use some potting soil in the Blendable inks. And just create some little bit of design that's going to sit behind the rows. So I'm going to use one of my detail blending tools. Again, take a little bit of the potting soil onto my. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of it off. I don't want it too dark, and I'm just going to go through the dots in the background. I want them to sort of fade out. Okay. Again, take a little bit of that colour off. Maybe fade out towards the bottom. Okay. I'm going to do some more, so I'm just going to line those dots up. I'm not going to put any more ink on. I'm going to use what's there just for now. There we go. And again, I'm lining my dots up. I'm trying to fade out as we go towards the centre. Okay. I may line those dots up, and if it's left on my tool, just pop through there. There we go. So we've got this lovely little dotty area now here that will make a lovely sort of backdrop. Really, there's a little bit of detail coming from behind our rows. And I still want to add some little bits of stamping on here. Back to my stamp sets. I think I'm going to go into my, this is called A Million Thanks from the Make Art Collections. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the butterfly out. Again, there is a die set that matches this, and there is a die that will cut out the butterfly. I just want the butterfly to sit flat. I don't need it to be 3D. I just want it in the background there, okay? So, just going to grab my block. I'm going to colour, stamp that out with my archival, and I'm going to use the black for now. Okay. And we're going to, I want to hold my card down because I don't want this slipping whilst I'm going to stamp here. Hold it at the bottom. And I'm just going to pop my butterfly there. There you go. It's got my butterfly nicely stamped out there now. Okay, so I'm going to remove my magnets. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to colour that in. And I'm going to use a little bit of the Carnation Red and the Tiger Lily, which you haven't seen, which is a gorgeous colour. There we go. I'm going to put a little bit of each colour down onto my palette. There we go. I'm just taking the brush, a little bit of water on the part there. Okay, onto my brush. So I'm going to start off a little bit of the Tiger Lily. Okay, I'm going to just paint that in there, and I'm going to take a little bit of the Carnation Red. Yep. I'm going to blend that in there, and around here. Just going to blend that around as well. Bring back in that Tiger Lily a little bit, so we're just blending across the two colours. Okay. Just making it a little bit brighter. A little bit more of the red. A beautiful blend on there as well. All the red there. Let's blend it over with the orange. Tiger Lily. So you've got this nice little flutterby now. Got our little shading on there. There we go. So again, building this up. And then I think that maybe I bring back in my blue background. I'm just using it for placement at the moment. I just want to see what things are going to look like. And that saves me moving it around all the time. So that's what I love about my magnets, just to get a look. So when I breathe, I don't blow it all out. Blow it all over. Right? So you can see now, building up this little design and my little rose on there, and then I think we can have a nice raised little pan around here. But I'm wondering then if I should add on some little spots onto something on the background to tie that in with it. So I think I will. So I'm going to remove my top piece, okay, and I'm going to bring in my stencil again with the dots on it. Yep, I'm going to use again the potting soil, but only lightly. So I'm having my cloth ready, using my detail blending tool for this. So again, I'm taking some of that off. I just want maybe just a little bit. I should be putting my, there we go, that's much easier. There we go, so I'm just going through my stencil. Again, it's just habit of me holding my stencils down. I don't need to. Okay, so pop that in there. Okay, I'm going to move that. Move this around. Pop my magnets back on to help me keep it in place. I haven't got to worry about it moving. There you go. Just go down there. Quite a light hand onto there. just moving those out of the way. You can see now, just getting this lovely little, just a little bit of detail down the side. Line my dots up again. Away, and just again, just swirl that through. I'm not being meticulous with my ending there because it doesn't matter. I just wanted a little bit of detail, so it hasn't got to be. Put that down. It hasn't got to be even, just not too dark. Adding that just around the edges. Okay. I just think it'll tie it in with the rest of the project. Okay. So now, I can stack up there. We have this little bit of detail going around. So again, I'm not inking up anymore. Just using what's on the brush. But there you can see now, got this lovely bit of detail. There you go, so we've got a light colour going around there now. Okay, so we're going to pop that against that. I'm going to add some around the corner of these now. This is your potting soil colour. Again, just going to go around this as well. Okay, so now we've got ink around there. So sort of pulling it all in together now, so all the colours go with each other there. Okay. What I want to do now is I've taken my centrepiece and I want to add a little bit of stamping, and I'm not very good at seeing things straight. Everyone knows this about me, I'm rubbish. So to make sure, I've used my my Make Art stamp positioner, and I love this to get things straight. Okay, it comes with a 2-part set. You get a grid piece with it as well for doing your stamping, and you get this magnetic, and it really is strong because it actually picks up my mat. It's that strong. Now, what I do to get my stamp straight is I'm using my perfect stamp positioner, but you can use the other block, the block that's in the kit as well. Now, I make sure that I use my grids here, so I love about this station. So I'm going to use my grids, put my magnet down to keep it in place. And then what I do is, I get this and I line this up. Where the grid is, I tend to line one mark in just to make sure I can see it, but you can line this up perfectly. That then won't move, okay, it will not move. But what I can do then, I'm taking the Flowers Say It All stamp, and I'm going to position it where I want, I think I'm going to put it in there. Okay, so I then take my stamp position. This is how I do it. So you want corner to corner. Okay, I know it might go up a little bit. I make sure it's straight. Excuse my head here. So I'll pop it on, and all I've got to do then is I know it's straight because I'm lining up into my corner. Okay, there. So I can't go anywhere, and I know that's going to be straight because this is straight, that's straight in the grid, and this is straight on my grid line, because I'm really, 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 really bad at lining things up. Now I'm going to stamp here. I'm going to use my black, because I've got black in the other parts of my images. So I'm using my archival. So I'm using my black archival onto my stamp, and I'm lining this then corner to corner on my stamp piece. Yeah. There you go, so I'm popping that on like there, into the corner, and then stamping it down. Now that hasn't moved, that'd be nice and straight, which is very unusual for me. Then I can take this away, but I know that now is beautifully straight because I've used my stamp positioner on here, and it's held my cardstock so it can't move anywhere. So now I've got my Flower Says It All. Okay. What I've also wanted to do stamp wise is I decided I want a couple of extra little bits. So I've die cut these 2 little branch stems, leafy stems, from the A Million Thanks set. Okay, And also then I've got the stamps that will match it. Okay, so again I'm going to bring my block back in here. Now I've got one shorter and one longer, okay, on my stamp block. My stamp block's here. So again, I'm going to ink it and I'm going to line it up over, okay. There we go. Over my die cut, line it up again, try and get over it if you can. Stamp down. And now, can you see, I've now got my little leaf, because I've stamped it out, it perfectly fits. Swap my stamps over because I'm using the longer branch now. Again, I'm going to stamp it up in the leaf green, my Blendables. There we go. Again, I'm going to line it up over the top, and here. Okay, line it up over the top, and give it a good press down to transfer the ink across. And there you go. Now I've got my second little leafy stamp to act in our background. From my A Million Thanks set, I want to stamp the words "A Million Thanks." Again, I'm going to pop it down onto here. I'm going to pop it on a grid line so I know it is straight. Okay, but this time I'm going to do that onto a separate piece of card. Ink my stamp up. So I'm going to pop it down here so I can, let me just get onto my grid. It'll be a lot easier. There we go. So I'm going to pop that down there. There we go. Pop that down into there. So we have all elements ready. So I've cut out the A Million Thanks and I've just inked around the edges. What I'm going to do next is I want to maybe have a couple of white splashes on my flower. So I'm just going to take these away. Okay, just to make it look a little bit more vintagey style. Get a piece of scrap. Here we go. Yep. I'm going to grab some. I've got some Dina Wakley white gesso here, so I'm going to use that as my white splashes. Take my brush. I'm going to use some old packaging here. I use palettes, lots of things on my palettes. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of the white gesso in here, and a little bit of water in there as well. Okay, there you go, just a little bit there. And what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to tap some little white bits across my flower. And I'm just going to let that dry. You can see now we've got some maybe little white splashes going across our flower. Right, so now we're ready. I've added a couple of little splashes on here. I've used some of the potting soil ink. I just added some little splashes around there. So what I'm going to do, I'm just put our card together. So I'm going to put the base one down. This one we covered, so remember we coloured a sky blue and then we added some potting soil around with the little stencils. So I'm been using my Aleene's clear gel tacky glue. I love this. It's always ready. It's always upside down. It's always ready to go. It's a really good glue. Okay, it dries crystal clear as well. Okay. So let's pop this on. Give me a little bit of wiggle room in there. Okay. Let's just pop that down there. Okay. So we've got our card base, and now we've got our base layer on. Yeah. And then we've got our lovely little card here, which I think I'd like to put up on some foam pads. We haven't finished this piece yet, so I'm just popping some 3D pads onto the back. What I want to do though is I want to add some string around here, so I've just got some garden twine, some garden twine, and what we're going to do is I'm going to start wrapping the garden twine round. I'm just going to add a little bit of tape on there. A little bit of double-sided tape. I'm going to do this now and just add that to the back. And we're going to wrap it round a few times or so, because I like this big. It's quite a rustic card, isn't it? So I'm just wrapping some string around. There you go. Just crisscrossing it around. Okay, so it's a nice little layer there. And I'm going to drop it off at the back. Another bit of tape. Let me just check that's where I want it to be. Okay, I'm just going to tape that down like that. That's all I'm doing. So now we got, just going to rearrange my string. I don't want to cover my flower says it all, because that would be onto there. Yeah. Okay, so now I can put that piece down. And I'm going to pop it into the centerpiece here that we've created. Okay. Check that straight. And there's my grid lines. Here we go. Okay. Let's pop that down, make sure it's all nicely stacked down. Okay, and now we're going to add in our little added pieces. So I've got my leaves here. I'm just adding a little bit of shaping into the leaves. See, so I can actually have a little bit shaped there. So I'm going to pop on a little bit of a foam pad under the leaves to keep them up. I'm just going to cut some of the waste from here. There we go. So I'm going to pop some under there. And pop some on that leaf there. There you go. So I want to keep those leaves up on the sides. And I'm going to pop some glue down the centre. I use this one again because it's crystal clear. It's a lovely clear tacky glue. And then decide then where it's going to go. It's going to go there. Okay. So we've got our foam keeping our petals up. There we go. Okay. And our next then we've got our rose again. I'm going to give it a little bit of shape there. I like a bit of 3D, so again we're giving it a nice little bit of shaping. And we're going to pop some foam pads onto that. Now I'm going to layer my foam pads up onto here because I want to give it a little bit more depth. And I'm only going to pass them in the centre, so I'm just layering up two on top of each other. Go, pop that into the centre. And then we're just going to pop it wherever you want that on there. Okay, so we've got our lovely little flower there. Again, just bringing that up a little bit. I've also got these leaves to sort of slot in as well, so we pop them in. I'm only going to put them flat on these ones, I think. Yeah, I'm going to put those flat. So I'm going to use a little bit of the, again, my tacky glue on the back of there. Just slide that in the background. There we go. Then my other one here, do exactly the same there. Put a little bit of glue on there. And I'm going to slide that there as well. Okay, so that's, oops, that has gone down. Slipped. There you go. Put it down a little bit, different angle. So there we have our little display going on there. And we've also got our a million thanks to go on the base of our card as well. So once again I'm going to put some foam onto that. Foam or some bit of grey board you have lying around. So that you layered a bit of cardboard. Okay. Or 3D glue gel. I'm going to pop that. Maybe Give me 2 seconds. Now I want to make sure this is straight, so I'm going to put my just magnets down to hold that on that grid line for me. And what I've also got in my, you get like a magnetic ruler as well that comes with it, magnetic strip. And what I want to do is I want to make sure this is straight, because I'm so rubbish rubbish at getting things straight. I want to make sure this is at least lined up on a straight sort of keel. So I'll put it up against the edge of my ruler. There we go. Hopefully that is straight. Move my magnets out of the way. So there you go. A lovely little card there. We've used the stencils and the stamps and the dies. There you go, from a couple of cross sets and these lovely Wendy Vecchi Make Art from Ranger sets. It's cute, isn't it? You could add on a string bow. So I just hold it in there, loop it around my fingers, a figure of 8. And it does depend how many loops you want. If you want 2 or 3, so it depends on the loops on your fingers. So on that one now I've got sort of 3. Yeah. So when I come across here and pull that, I have 3 on each finger. So you can see you've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to cut some of that string off. What happens is then I'll feed it through the hole at the bottom. Okay, so a hole there. I'll bring it up to you. So I feed it through there. I come round to the front, and this loop you created at the front, I just grab it and feed my string through it, and then pull that tight down towards my thumb. And then when you loosen your fingers off, you bring it up. That could be ribbon or string, but you've got a beautiful 3-looped bow. You then add that to the front of our card if you wanted to there. Okay, why not? We've made it now, so you might as well put it. I don't want to put it too far over because I don't want to blank out the stamp we've already put on. So I'm going to use some of my clear tacky for this. I'll pop that on and we just let that dry. Again, we've got nice 3 loops there into our bow. You can see it there. That is our card using our Make Art station, using the Make Art blendable die inks and the Make Art stamp, stencil and die sets. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you. Bye for now.